Siska is the iPhone Square, and she's at the LA Marriott. They're doing a walkthrough for the Pets Committee, but Siska is the education chair for Pets, Southwest Pets. And today we are so fortunate to have two experts, subject matter experts on public image and branding. So Amanda Goss Ghost is a marketing specialist, and she has 15 years experience. And then we have Liz Thiam. So Liz is the brand specialist at Rotary International, and she's going to be covering the proper use of logos and um, and the logo brand. Okay, so let's get started. It is 9 o'clock. So Amanda, we're starting with you.
That's great. Yeah, let me get my screen share going on here. Make sure that everybody can see what I'm sharing. Everybody able to see it? Great. Okay. Wonderful. So yeah, I'm Amanda Gose. I work on the marketing team. I support Rotary's action plan priority to expand reach, increase awareness and understanding with the public. So it's nice to meet you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Nancy Davidson, my manager, couldn't be here today, so I am taking her place. Um, but one thing just to start off with is some global insights just to ground this conversation. Um, we do research every so often to gauge from the public, how well do you understand Rotary? Are you aware of Rotary? Do you understand who we are and what we do? And so here you can see kind of a breakdown across the countries that we survey. And although there's a high level of brand awareness, it doesn't always mean that that means there's understanding of who we are and what we do. And so you'll see here, like markets like the Philippines, India, and Nigeria, they benefit from high levels of both awareness and understanding. Um, but others like the US, Australia, and European countries, and even Taiwan could benefit from increased information about Rotary just to enhance that public understanding a little bit more. So people start to understand who we are, what we do, how we're relevant, and the impact that we make in communities. And a lot of people get confused about brand. It's more than a logo. Rotary's brand is much bigger than its wheel, for example. It's a perception. It's how others think about us. It's not just how we see ourselves. And so it's really important that we connect with the public in a way that enhances that understanding of Rotary. So how do others see us? This is a little word cloud here based on some of our global insights. And again, we regularly conduct this research around the world to just understand what people think about Rotary. And while you can see some of these responses um, can vary, some are accurate, but there are a lot of misperceptions about Rotary and our brand. And in fact, many people respond when we ask them, um, what comes to mind when you hear the name Rotary or a Rotary Club, they respond that they don't know. So that's why this public image is so important when we're connecting with others. And expanding our reach, which is one of my focuses at Rotary International, is one of the key pillars of our action plan. And it aims to strengthen and grow Rotary. And to that end, we need to continue to narrow that gap between awareness and understanding, going back to that slide that I shared earlier, um, and drive internal awareness and understanding of our priorities with folks like yourself, because all of our priorities, all four priorities, actually work together to make us a more stronger and attractive organization for both current members and future participants. And you might be saying, well, what are some of the strategies that we're utilizing to expand our reach? And we start by making sure that we're building awareness of our impact and brand, and we do it by using a consistent voice. So that's why you'll see one voice shown here. It's critical that we have a unified and consistent representation throughout Rotary of who we are, what we do. And when all of us communicate in a consistent way, showing ourselves as people of action, we make it clear that Rotary offers something of value to people. It showcases how unique our clubs, our programs, and experiences are. It increases the potential for community and member involvement in our projects, just so important. That also, you can see how that increases our impact, which is one of our priorities. Um, It strengthens our existing clubs by creating shared language and experiences that boost engagement. And it's a way to attract new members and create a demand for new clubs and channels into Rotary. And the second focus that you'll see here is brand ambassadors. It's empowering members and participants to become strong brand ambassadors. We really rely on this and we appreciate all the effort that everyone puts into this. Um, Although brand consistency is important, it's through sharing individual stories and experiences that our brands people will want to connect with us. They will start to understand more about who we are and what we do. And that's, solving problems in the community, making connections, building skills. These types of stories and context for the public is what moves others to want to know more. And it helps our audiences see that Rotary offers something that speaks to their needs. There's not a one size fits all approach to Rotary. There's something special for everyone within Rotary. Um, and becoming a brand ambassador also takes us nicely into our third focus, which is leveraging our members to promote what's unique about the experiences and offerings that can be found from club to club. We know that the experience is unique from club to club, and so we really rely again on our members to tell what does that unique experience look like? How can it be offered in a way that people can become part of that experience and feel at home? And our fourth focus is exploring how we can engage existing and potential participants in Rotary events. So events are a great stepping stone to engage the public and show Rotary what's all about and get to interact with some of our members. And so here, People of Action messaging we know resonates with the public. Just a little bit of research that provides context around this is 87% of those aware of Rotary had a positive opinion of the phrase people of action. 91% of those agreed that people of action is a good descriptor of Rotary. So that does mean that they think that Rotary is making an impact in communities. And opinions of Rotary increased from the time that we had done the same research about 4 years before, prior to the latest. We've seen an 8% increase on average in all countries after exposure to people of action messaging and or imagery. So that means that they're more aware of who we are and what we do. But we all know that People of Action, it's more than an advertising campaign. It's who we are and what we do and that impact that we make in communities and those connections that we have together. And how we do that is we need to tell our People of Action stories following a framework. This is just an easy, consistent framework that we can follow. Start with talking about your local challenge or issue in the community that you're addressing. Show how your club has worked together to find a solution to this issue. Talk about how you mobilize resources in your community to take action, whether that's through partnerships or different entities that you partnered with. Talk about the impact that this project had in the community and on the lives of the people who participated in it. Share your story with the public and make sure that you include a call to action when you do. So let your audience know, like, hey, that sounds really, really interesting and something that I want to be a part of. Let them know how they can connect with you, what you want them to do next, whether it's go to your website or, help you out on your next volunteer project. Make sure that you're always inviting them to participate. And so here's some ways that you can promote Rotary. The thing I will say, just based on my experience, is integrated marketing strategies really maximize the effectiveness of the message that you're putting out in the world. It kind of builds upon one another and amplifies your message. And so again, here you'll see, whether it's your website, like that's the first place that you might be driving someone to, make sure that you're giving them the information that they might be seeking, whether it's, how to participate with your club, how to join a volunteer project, what you might be looking for, make sure that you're giving them the information that they need. Social media, another great way to expand our reach to new audiences, whether it's organically, you're sharing it with just your contacts or doing some paid advertising through social media. Again, events are great opportunities to promote your club and get engagement from the public. Public relations really strengthen the community's understanding of Rotary and the difference that you make. So that's also a great approach. Any speaking engagements? Hey, how could you increase people's understanding of Rotary, and where could some of those speaking engagements show up, even outside of your club? Again, partnerships. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but who are you working with? Who do you want to work with? How can you leverage even their channels? Because a lot of times, if you're working with a partner, you can cross promote one another. So, again, expanding our reach. And then advertising opportunities. There's so many out there in the world. It's hard to name just one or two. But again, whether it's a print ad, a digital ad, something in the newspaper, just anything to help get your message out there to the public. And then anytime that you're doing a project or that you're out in the universe, connecting with people, if you're wearing some Rotary branded merchandise, that's a great way just to reinforce Rotary's name when they're thinking about Rotary. And club resources. We have so many resources that we work so hard on. And these will really help you um, make use of the tools that Rotary provides. There's opportunities on the Brand Center, there's opportunities on the Learning Center for resources, and just, some of the resources that are available are presentations, learning resources, there's videos. I do want to put a plug in for, we recently created some member testimonial videos. We have 3 that are just about to come to fruition. These videos are focused on telling kind of the personal value that Rotary members receive from their experience. So taking it from a brand awareness message down to a more personalized message. So those will be coming out soon. We'll have them available with subtitles in various languages. But there's lots of templates, ads that you can use. So I just highly recommend that you leverage some of our resources. If you have any questions, or if we happen to be missing a resource that you think would be helpful, we're always open to hearing from you. So feel free to contact either myself or Nancy Davidson with any questions or anything that you think would be helpful in promoting Rotary, because it's just so important to share our story with the community and increase that understanding and awareness. And that is really it. You can contact us at pr@rotary.org if you need to get a hold of us. You can also send a personal email, but the pr@rotary.org email is an email that all of us will receive. So your message won't go unanswered. Thanks a bunch. I'm going to stop sharing here.
Could you drop the email in the chat, please?
Of course. Yeah.
So Amanda, there was one comment in the chat. It's from Roger. He's saying it's interesting to have one voice when each club has its own identity with different things, and it changes over time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add to that I think it's a strength of Rotary that each club is unique and different in its own entity, and that we kind of each do different things, but we're all part of this bigger whole that adds meaning to us. But I see a definite challenge there is, yeah, how do we speak with one voice when we are all different?
Yeah, I think, every club is different, but if we're approaching how we're addressing the impact that we're making in communities through that people of action messaging, it creates a consistency, but allows you the opportunity. It's flexible enough that you can insert your specific projects and the things that you are working on individually. I mean, that is a tricky thing with Rotary. We know that experience is so different from club to club, and that is why we rely so much on our members to share those unique proof points, because at RI, it's very hard, right, to have a couple sentences that explain who we are and what we do at a level that the audience can really understand. We rely on you guys to use that framework and tell your club story. So it's really about the consistency, but you can still be flexible with how you're telling those stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Robin, you have a
Um,
question?
Yes, thank you. Aloha. The videos that you're coming out with the testimonies,
Yeah.
are they from the mainland or are they from Hawaii?
Right now we don't have anybody from Hawaii, but we do, I mean, it's members from across the globe. So we have North America, we have South Americans. We're still shooting some more in the upcoming months. But the first three are from the US. The reason that we started in the US is that we do have a PSA campaign where we promote Rotary. And we are also going to participate in a US pilot to increase member acquisition that has gone on to a more global scale. But yes, so we have some in the US first and followed by some more regions.
Second follow-up on that.
Yeah.
If I can make a video, can I send it to you guys and see if we can get it throughout?
Yeah, I mean, I would love if you have some videos that you've done. We have received some from other members as well. Specifically, I know in the UK they've sent us some great videos, so we're happy to like review it and see how we could leverage that. You could send that to pr@rotary.org.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
I don't see the hand to raise my hand. So I'm raising my hand. Are we
Yeah.
allowed to do shirts that say hashtag People of Action and then put our club name underneath?
Yes, you can use hashtag People of Action. You'll see that on even on my slide, my background on my slide. So
Yeah, I see that.
that's completely okay. And then you just want to make sure, I know I have my colleague Liz on the call, just make sure that the lockup that you use for your club is correct. And you can find all that information on the Brand Center.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else before I pass
One
it over to
more.
Liz?
Yeah, one more. So talking about t-shirts,
Mhm.
could you put the rotary wheel in the center and then have something around it? Or does it have to have rotary attached to it?
Okay, so Liz is going to be covering logos and the
Yeah.
proper use of logos.
Oh, is that the next one? Did I
Yep.
jump in too early? Okay, I apologize.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you.
okay. She's going to answer all your questions
Yep,
about it. Great
yep.
question and one that we receive a lot.
But Cherie has a question in the chat. How can we get involved with global projects? I'm not sure. Cherie, you want to explain?
Yeah, Sharif. Give us some context and I'm happy to answer the question.
Muted, Cherie. Muted.
That's always the trick.
Nope.
And yeah, I'll be sending the recording and deck out today if we just to answer the next question as well.
Okay.
Well, I imagine Naomi, you'll be sending the recording, but I'll share the deck with
We'll
you.
post- the recording will be posted on the Southwest Pets website
Okay.
under learning. Okay, I guess she's having a hard time getting unmuted. So Amanda, you were talking about PSAs. Is that going out nationally?
We are looking into it nationally. Every country has different requirements for public service announcements. So that is the tricky thing. Some require like government approval on video assets. So it's a little bit more complex. Here in the States, obviously, we're very familiar with how it works. So now we're just kind of looking into what are some of the requirements on a global scale.
Okay, Becky says that she heard the PSA in Arizona.
Nice. Woo, that's what we like to hear.
Oh, in Cayman. Wow.
Awesome. Okay. So Shri, are you okay? I guess not. You're still muted. Okay. So if no other questions for Amanda, we can go on to logos and Liz.
Can you
Oh, there
guys
she is.
hear? Can you guys hear
Okay.
me now?
Yes.
We
This
can
is
Go ahead.
hear you.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm in the car with my phone and it was very touchy. I couldn't get it unmuted. Anyway, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation.
Yeah.
I'm very new. I'm basically vice president-elect of my Rotary in Indian Wells, California, soon to be. And I am so action-packed kind of person, and I want to do so many things and share so many things with our club that I'm already thinking about how do I make a global impact and what kind of projects can I get involved in and where do I go to find that out and how do I get started? Besides, being, involved with the logo and the branding, but I don't know too many people yet, and I'm just so happy to be a part of all of you and hear all your wonderful stories and so forth and so on. So thank you for sharing.
Great. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to answer. So
Yes,
are you
yes.
looking to get involved in like global volunteer projects specifically?
Yeah, that too, but I want to know ways that our club in particular can get involved in a global project and where do you go to find those things? And also I have so many other questions, but anyway, I thought that since I have you and I'm on the Zoom meeting, if you could just answer this question, that'd be great.
Yeah, I am more focused on the marketing and brand aspect side of the fence. I know that a lot of clubs have like international service committees. It sounds like I'm not sure if your club does.
Not yet, but anyway, I'm just getting my feet wet and trying to meet people and involved with Rotary. And I'm just so thrilled that I'm on board and I want to know everything I can, including the marketing and the branding and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Cherie, I
I'm
think
trying to wear all kinds of hats right now, trying to get my Rotary kind of up and running.
well, Cherie, I think the best place to start is your district and your International Service District Committee. And see
Okay,
what they
thank
have for
you.
global plans.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Brian. Brian?
I was just going to say exactly what you did, Naomi, that my experience has been when you want to know specifically, especially that kind of stuff, your district representatives are your best resource. That's kind of what they're there for.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Amanda. Now we're going to hear from Liz because I know everybody has a question about logos, right, Liz?
It usually pans out that way. So I am going to, let's see here, share my screen and launch my PowerPoint. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Mhm.
Yep,
You
Yes.
are, great,
good now.
okay.
PowerPoint,
Usually there's like the green outline and I'm not seeing that on my end. So, okay, wonderful. So to piggyback on what Amanda was saying, we approach our branding from the one voice, every club aspect as well. We do this because we know any global brand needs to be consistent to be understood by the audience. That's just the basics of logos and branding 101, right? So 2025 now marks the 12th year since we've rebranded from a two-color circular logo to the master brand signature. The master brand signature is RI's official logo. We have two versions of that logo, the kind of traditional signature and then the simplified signature. For the most part, you'll see items that are produced by Rotary International that bear the simplified logo. But when clubs go to make their own logos, which we'll touch on in just a second, they have the option to use either version. And then we have the Mark of Excellence, which is just a two-color logo. And this is, I would view this as a secondary logo. This is also used sporadically on different goods and merchandise, like let's say a road sign. As you're entering a town and you have that round circular sign, it's still appropriate to use the updated Mark of Excellence there. But I want to be clear that when we rebranded, we went from a two-color round logo to the master brand signature, which is both the word Rotary and the wheel together. And those components are not meant to be separated. They always travel together. Everything I'm talking about today is all available by download on our brand center as well too. So as you're getting familiar with Rotary and in your role, which congratulations, by the way, to you in that role, the brand center is the place you're always going to want to go when it comes to our logos. Please never go to Google to find anything related to our brand. There is just a plethora of very badly branded Rotary logos out there. So as I was saying, 12 years ago, we rebranded. So before that, you may have seen a lot of clubs kind of create homemade logos, which manipulated the Rotary logos in any manner of ways. But the very smart thing that I think happened during this rebranding effort 12 years ago was that we then we leverage the Rotary master brand and simply add the club name to the logo. And that is your club's official club logo. And no other variations or versions of your club logo should exist besides this one. And this is because this logo is meant for the public, right? It's meant for your audiences who are getting to know you. And so it only strengthens Rotary's brand and impact when we have a consistent visual identity. I mean, this is the same with any major brand, right? So the example here shows a couple situations where as the name kind of rolls off the tongue, it can be set up differently. So in Evanston, their club is called the Rotary Club of Evanston. But let's say in Kampala, they call themselves the Sunrise Kampala Rotary Club. So the brand center template to create these logos offers these different layouts for creating the club logo, depending on how you verbally say the name of your club. I also included examples of the official district logo and an official zone logo here. And you'll notice there is no other wording. There are no themes. There's no unique identifiers that accompany this because it's essential that these logos remain free of all that. Otherwise, we just go back to where we were before when 32,000 clubs were creating their own logos, right? So why is this important that we do this correctly? You're protecting Rotary's name and intellectual property, which I feel like is a massive responsibility for how we're structured at Rotary. So Rotary International owns the Rotary trademark and logos, and the way our policies are described is that clubs and districts can use those protected marks, provided that they add their identifier, so your club name, to the logo. And it's nothing more than that. And by doing that, you're doing your part to protect that global brand as well, which is, in a legal sense, but also in a reputational sense too. So it's a unique thing that we have at Rotary. You're not franchises, right? We don't operate that way, but in a sense, when we talk about global branding, the structures are similar. We also always want clubs and districts to be using your club and district logo to brand the work that you are doing locally. So when Amanda was talking about all the different ways that you should promote your club, like website, social media, newspapers, et cetera, making sure that you're always doing that consistently with the same club logo is essential. We actually have some pretty strict policies at RI that you shouldn't be putting the Rotary master brand on the projects you do, because that would signify that that is a project of Rotary International. So the official club logo and that structure is not by accident. This is all very specific and very purpose-driven. And then third, and potentially most importantly, when you're doing this consistently, we are all telling that quote unquote Rotary story in a consistent way. So as you start working to, some clubs already have this nailed, right? But if you happen to be in a club where this is just not your everyday practice, these are things to keep in mind. Again, always the official club logo is just the name of the club combined with the master brand. When you go into the brand center to create these logos, the alignment in the template sets this up perfectly for you. You don't have to worry about the fonts, the size, the colors. All of those are available for you in the template. And it's pretty easy to use once you've done it a few times. You'll never want to obscure the rotary wheel or logo. You don't want to cut off half of it. You don't want to manipulate it or use it as an object or a number. These things, while maybe we at Rotary understand what's happening, this waters down our brand, this weakens our brand. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's against our policies, right? But it's just not, you're doing yourself no favors when this happens. Likewise, you don't really want to embed your logo with other graphics or designs, because again, then we get back to inconsistent practice of the logo over our many global clubs. So now is the time. 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 12 years ago was the time to retire those previous Rotary logos. This is one that clubs can sometimes struggle with because that logo is everywhere, right? It's potentially as you come into town. It's on the badges that you wear at your meeting. It's on some of the historical things that you have. It's also online. It's on social media. It's on your websites. So I want to be clear that when we rebranded, we are not erasing history. We're not saying you need to get rid of your historic things. But we are saying that when the time is right, so when you need to go reorder your badges, when you need to get a new sign for that annual fundraiser that you're promoting, make sure that you are using the brand center to access the updated branding when you're doing so. And sometimes folks will, have concerns about the cost of this. And that is a very real concern. And I just say, make sure that your digital presence, which is probably somewhat free, make sure that presence is updated first, and then have your club set aside an annual budget or work with your district to see if there are district budgets that are there for updating kind of more of the cost prohibitive things. So here's examples of what it looks like when people just kind of go to Google or get creative with our brand. This is very confusing and very busy and very misunderstood by anybody outside of Rotary. Again, it really weakens our brand and does us no favors. So these are then the solutions to how to present these different ways that we're involved with Rotary. We also have this system called lockups. And I know that's kind of an internal jargon, but what essentially it means is you are joining your club logo with another logo. So, or phrase. So these are used when you are partnering with a local entity to do an event. These are used when you're hosting your annual fundraiser, or you're hosting your annual training session. Those are considered events, right? And so you would put your event name or your event logo over to the right of the vertical line. So we said, and projects too. So your signature projects that you do in your club that you've potentially built up as its own wonderful brand recognition in your community to show your club's ownership over that project. You can just, use that logo alone and potentially place your club logo elsewhere on your flyer. But one way that you could join those two together, so you're making sure that the recognition of your Rotary Club is clear with your project, is to join these together in the quote unquote lockup. And again, the Brand Center offers the template to go and make these lockup logos. So earlier in the conversation, we talked about t-shirts, and I lit up right away because this really is, it can be a bit complicated to understand. And I think at the end of the day, the first thing I want to say is anytime anything is being fabricated, produced, the vendor that's doing that either needs to be a Rotary licensed vendor, or that vendor needs to receive a one-time permission from us. Both of those things are possible, and this is the route that best serves you and, of course, the vendor and RI. But through those processes, it ensures that whatever you're creating is branded correctly. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, because you don't want to be spending money to create all these clubs, shirts for your club, only to realize that they're all potentially incorrect because you didn't go through the correct process. So on the website, we do have a list of vendors that do have, that we partner with that are licensed. And then I can drop in the link after I am done sharing my screen. I'll drop in the link that you can share with your local vendors. So if you're unable to use a licensed vendor, or if licensed vendors aren't producing exactly what you're looking for, you can use local vendors, but that vendor needs to get permission from us. It's free and it's relatively quick. And again, it really just ensures that what you're doing is all branded correctly. So things like hashtag People of Action with your club logo, that's great. And you can do that, but those are licensed and trademarked things that you're producing. And so, doing it without a license is not kosher, right? So, yeah, hopefully that's clear. We can talk more about it after this if you have questions. Items can be branded with either the Rotary logo on them because they're produced through a licensed vendor, or you can customize them and they can bear your Rotary Club. It can be either way. So I know this is a lot of information. Hopefully I made it pretty top level, but I want to reiterate that there is much more to learn, much more to access in the Brand Center. I'm going to jump down to number 4. I think you were supposed to take some courses in the Learning Center before you came here today. So that Learning Center is where you go to build up your knowledge of how to do all these things. And the Brand Center is where you go really to take action. Within the Brand Center, there's a really great PDF called Your Logos at a Glance, which really goes over the basics of what we discussed today. That's a great piece to hand out at your pets. It's a great piece to ensure that your club public image chair has. It's a very, PDFs, a 2-sided PDF is like such an easy communication tool. All of everything I discussed today is rooted in our RI Code of Policies. So if you have folks that want to know, why are these things, why are the rules this way? Why is RI saying, I have to do this? It's all rooted in the code, and you are more than welcome to check that out. It's all in Article 34 of the code. You have a wealth of local folks that are well-versed and well-trained in your districts, and regionally your RPICs are as well. But your district folks, your district public image chairs, those folks are really, and me too, right? I'm at brand@rotary.org, but I'm one person for the whole world. What I can help you do is come in and do trainings just like this. I can help you answer nuanced things that maybe nobody knows the answer to, that you've really tried to look for and you can't quite get it. I mean, I've been at Rotary for 16 years and I still am, brought new issues quite often that I've never seen before. So I really hope that this was beneficial to you. I'm gonna get out of here. And we have probably about 15-20 minutes to take questions if you'd like.
Yeah, there's some questions in the chat. So one is about colors. Can you change the color of the wheel?
Sure, that's a great question. So when you're in the Brand Center, there's a download section where you're just going to download the file of either the mark of excellence or the master brand, or there's People of Action logos in there. There's Polio Now logos in there. Those logos in the download section, the colors that are available there are the only colors that the logos are available in. So there are different variations and color combinations of our logos, but it's only the ones that we provide. So we don't want you taking the Rotary logo and like manipulating it in a software to change the color logos. In the template where you're doing your club logo, there's like a black option, all black option, all white option, all azure option, and then the white and gold and the blue and gold too. So there's a lot of different options there that are available to you. There's also different file format like downloads. So you can be downloading logos that have a transparent background if you're placing them on different backgrounds so that they're not lost right in the background. So yeah, that's a great question.
Jenny has a question about Rotarians at Work logo. Is there only one Rotarians at Work logo?
So Rotarians at Work is not an official logo. It seems to be a slogan that is like organically popular with folks. I think what I see is like that phrase, and then the wheel is kind of sometimes placed above it. Rotarians at Work is not part of People of Action. It's not part of anything that you'll find in the Brand Center. I would be a bit hesitant about using it because it doesn't really align with what RI does. However, I do know that some licensed vendors will sell that shirt, and so I would seek that out through the licensed vendor. But it's not an official logo, to be clear. Yeah.
Clay is asking if the current Rotary pin still uses the words Rotary International.
If the pin?
On the pin.
Okay, so we have, is he talking about the member pins?
Probably any pin. So some of the old ones still have that, right?
All right, so pins there's a plethora of pins too, right? You can go to any vendor and they're going to sell a lot of different variations of pins. But if we're talking about what is traditionally known as the member pin, this was always just the mark of excellence. It was the 2-color mark of excellence, right? The red and gold wheel. And you would receive it when you joined Rotary. That's usually what happened. And our vendors would sell these pins. When we rebranded 12 years ago, there was kind of a concession that was given at the time that said that the vendors didn't have to adopt the new branding. I won't add my personal feelings into that, but it was a decision that was made then. Since then, we have updated our guidelines that vendors can no longer sell those 2-color pins because that's no longer our logo. So today's member pin can either be a 1-color logo, it can be the metallic logo that the vendors are selling, it can be the Rotary Master brand, so it's going to be more of a rectangular pin than a round pin. It can be any of those variations. And we are also not saying that you need to get rid of that pin that you received when you joined Rotary. We're not erasing history here. These are just the things that are now available through our licensed vendors.
Okay, so Todd has a question about the lockup. If you have more, do you have an example of when you have more than one, when you have multiple sponsors?
Great, that's a great question. So the lockups are only intended for the club and then one partner. You shouldn't have double lockups, and the template in the Brand Center doesn't allow you to do that. So what I usually suggest is if you do want to include a lockup on your flyer, which you don't have to do, right? You could potentially just put your club logo in the top left and all your sponsor logos spaced out on the bottom or something like that. But if you did want to use the lockup, you could use like your biggest donor or your biggest partner. You could feature them, and then you can list the other ones separately elsewhere outside of the logo. We do have an event template on the Brand Center. It's relatively new. It's only been there for a few months. And we have different options and variations for how to handle multiple partners in that template. So I'd encourage you to take a look because it's all set up for you. You don't have to kind of start from scratch.
Okay, Bruce says he got trophies for a chess tournament and it had the rotary wheel on it, and he's assuming that the trophy vendor got it from a national supplier. So how can he check that the licensing is correctly in place?
Wait. I'm trying to find this question. He got a trophy for something that didn't have to do with Rotary?
Oh, it was a chess tournament for Rotary. So he
No,
bought.
yeah. This is Bruce. I belong to an organization that runs chess tournaments. Rotary gives us money to help us run those tournaments, and so I regularly purchase trophies. And the trophy has a little chess playing person, but it also has a rotary wheel on the trophy.
And are you giving that artwork to the person who's creating the trophy? I'm not understanding where the wheel comes from.
Actually, I don't know, because this was in place like 20 years ago when I started, and the vendor always knows what I want and gives the rotary wheel. So
Okay.
it's a piece. Typically the trophy supplier buys pieces and just puts them together in her shop. So that rotary piece comes from somebody else.
Yeah. So I'm thinking what happened is that vendor isn't aware that they need licensing permission to produce this trophy with the Rotary logo on it.
Okay.
And what I would also suggest is, because this is not something that's issued by Rotary International, which is what is signified if the Rotary logo is on it, but it's something that is, I think your club is sponsoring it, or a group of clubs or something like that. So you should be putting your club logo on the trophy, as this is your, or whomever is hosting this and issuing it, that is their local project. So they should be putting their club logo on it. And regardless of if it's the club logo, district logo, or potentially RI logo, which in the case of a trophy, it's not going to be, but they still need to receive, that vendor needs to get permission from us to be making these trophies. Okay. So I just dropped the link in the chat, and this is that one that I was referring to in my presentation about sharing with your vendors who want to produce anything with any Rotary trademarks on them.
Okay, Robin?
Yeah, that's a great question. See, it's something new.
Hi,
Robin?
thank you. Your T-shirt that you had the logo right here, are you allowed to put anything below the T-shirt?
You wouldn't be allowed to put like another company's logo there.
No, I'm just saying like, if we did a Alzheimer's walk or a different one, but we wanted to have something there showing that, but it would be created, maybe a picture, I don't know.
Sure. So this is why it's essential to go through that process, because every situation is going to be different. I can't say, yes, that's okay, or no, it's okay, not okay, because I'm not sure what exactly you want to do and for what purpose. So engaging through that process, you will also share your artwork of what you want to be created, and then you'll receive the permission, or we'll work with you to say, oh, you need to tweak this or change this, and then it'll be good. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, and then we design it, and then we send it to you guys, and then we see if the person is, well, we also at the same time get their permission to print it a one-time possibly, or whatever.
It can all happen through the same process. You would give your artwork to the vendor that you want produced, and your vendor should be completing that link. I mean, any vendor that's messing with trademarks should be protecting themselves and doing it through the right channels, right? They need license. You can't just like make Disney shirts, right? So those vendors need to be treating that Rotary logo the same way. We are just as important.
Thank you.
Okay, so if someone got went to the brand center to create a business card, can they use a non-registered print company to print the card?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, and only because we have that template so specific, and we know, I mean, I think honestly, at the end of the day, you are supposed to get permission from us. So I guess maybe I have to say, yeah, have, fill out the link. But I think something like a business card where that template is so clearly laid out, you can't really mess with it. It's probably okay to download the file and go get it produced from a business card place.
Okay. So Jim is asking, where
Sorry,
can they-
that's not clear. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
well, so Doug, was that okay? That answer? Doug? Okay. So what about Rotary letters and stationery? Where can they find that?
Sure. I think this is a really similar thing to the business cards. Anything kind of like a paper bound, right? Like we also have templates to create your club brochures. You don't need to get those printed through an RI licensed vendor or have your vendor get permission to print these things, because what we provide, the templates are so clear and so foolproof, I suppose, that something like stationery, you're just going to create your club logo, take that file, and then, place it on. However, I don't know if you're going to work with a stationery company to make it or whatever it is, but you're going to use that file that you created to make your club logo to put it on there, on the stationery.
Okay.
On a similar note, our club is preparing to some shirts for their Interact Club, and our club president feels that the wheel should not be blue, but should be gold, like, because it's Rotary.
So I guess I'll just say the official Interact logo is the color it is, and our feelings about what we think might look better or be aligned. We all have a lot of different feelings about how we think things should look, right? But we have very specific guidance, and the logos are already set. So we don't have an Interact logo with gold in it.
Liz, can you talk about the annual theme? So this year is the Magic of Rotary. So what's going on with those yearly themes?
Sure. So in Orlando next month, there will be presidential messaging. So the themes, kind of as we know it, will be retired in a sense. But there will still be this annual message that the RI president will announce every year that encourages or I would say districts. It's more of a district-led kind of campaign or focus. Districts will have an opportunity, if they would like to talk about Rotary in alignment with this annual messaging. And this messaging will build on our action plan, and these kind of like logos that come out every year that's not going to happen anymore. You'll learn more as it's announced in October. We're going to update the brand center. We're going to try to update it the day, like the moment that it's announced, with the information about the message and how you can use it if you would like to.
Robin, you have another question? Robin muted.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much. So what happens if they do it and they didn't have permission? So what happens to them? I mean, do they go to jail? What's the punishment? Just for curious.
For the vendors?
Well, no, the person that designed it or printed it or whatever. Yeah. Everybody what happens?
So if there's a vendor out there that's like advertising and making Rotary merchandise, our licensing group would work with them, and our legal group would work with that unlicensed vendor who is like who has an external presence to say you can't do that, right? But what's going to happen if it's like a one-off thing is you're going to walk around with things that are incorrectly branded. So I guess that's the detriment, and it would be like wearing, you know, it's like a knockoff Louis Vuitton, right? Like it's Rotary, but it's not really Rotary, right? Because it wasn't created through the correct channels. So the kind of concept of policing, it's hard with Rotary, and it's not something that we really want to go. We don't really want to go down that path because we're all here for the greater good. People make mistakes all the time. They're not aware usually that they can't go to their friend to get these things made. So our approach is definitely not one of like coming down on folks and reprimanding folks. It is one of information knowledge and sharing and telling the story about why it's important to have consistent branding and what happens when we don't, and how we're just doing ourselves no favors when we're still out there wearing a 12-year-old logo, right? So yeah, it's a great question. And this is like, I hope that you walk away feeling a little more empowered about the brand and how to use it, and that you're that message, you're that ambassador to your clubs that say, you know what? I saw this is great. Let's do it this way next time, because this is how we're doing it globally.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions? All good?
Thanks so much, everybody, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Oh,
Have a good
you
weekend.
know what? I apologize. Sorry. One last thing. So the one that said COVID heroes with the things, so that even if you put the mark brand, the mark of excellence, you can't write words around it, correct? Or you can?
You cannot have, you asked that question before. You cannot have any words that are like joining inside the logo. I think I had touched on this in one of my slides, right? Like you can't manipulate and add things. You can't add content. You can't add other logos to the Rotary logo. So placing something kind of like around the logo like that is not correct. Now, I do know that there are some pins out there that say like district governor that are wrapped around the wheel.
Right.
That's okay, right? But in this sense, it looks like you're adding kind of to the official logo. That's not right. You could put COVID heroes, right, like on the arm or on the back or something like that. But the general rule of thumb is that the R in Rotary, the space of the R in Rotary is the space of like the free space that should surround any of our logos. So you have a club logo and you want to put some other, I can't really think of a good example, right? Like a slogan maybe or something. It can't be joined with that logo, right? It needs to kind of sit off somewhere else. So the space of the R needs to be free of any of our logos.
No, not just the mark of thing. So you couldn't, I mean, because I've seen a lot of shirts with that big logo, but you can't write anything below it. You have to write on the back.
You could potentially, let's say you could potentially write below it if it's like obvious that there's a space between and it's not something that you're trying to create one big logo with. So again, like this is nuanced, and this is why we have that process for submitting the artwork, so we can take a look on it one-on-one. But yeah, I mean, the general rule of thumb is you shouldn't combine anything with the Rotary logo except your club name or your district number. That's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry for needed that extra clarity.
No, it's okay, Robin. There's always someone like you on these calls, and I love it. It's because you're engaged and you want to do it right and you want to carry the message. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
But also we should remember that the wheel by itself should not be used by itself. It's a
Good point,
secondary.
Naomi. That's right.
Okay, so Thomas said if we come across a Rotary logo used in an inappropriate way, how do we report it? And then Roger said to talk to the person and educate them. But is there a method?
I think that's a really great idea. I would, reaching out to me to tell me that you've seen it is not, sadly, probably going to solve anything, because again, like I'm not going to police it. And we also know there's just a lot of it out there at every level, right? So it could be something very innocent, like on a website, or it could be something very serious, like a Rotary hospital, like, and you have logos all over it. If that's happening, you do want to reach out to me. That's kind of a conversation for another day, is giving our name away to a third party. But in general, yes, just having that conversation about, and sometimes too, like it's something that was created 50 years ago and it's impossible to kind of quote unquote update because it is like a physical thing, right? So everything's a little different, and having conversations with folks is the best way to address it. And if you're unsure, you reach out to your district or reach out to me and we can help guide you through conversations. But yeah, I mean, in general, you're going to see potentially a lot of just misbranded things that, and we don't necessarily have like a repository for that. Sadly.
Okay, I think that is it, right, everybody? How about we give Liz a hand? Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. It's really a pleasure. I hope everybody remains safe, and I'm thinking of all of you, and I'm here. So thanks again.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.